Come and shoot the breeze with myself and guests as we deep dive into some topics that may just pin your eyelids right back. Beautiful. We're all set to go. So welcome, 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 and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our viewers from around the globe. And wherever you may be, I hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful time with it. And this Shoot the Breeze today is a really juicy, juicy conversation I'm sure we're going to have with the most sweetest heart ever on the planet, I believe, is Leela Black. So welcome,
Oh,
Leela, to the show.
goodness me, Mandy. It's so lovely to be near your beautiful sacred space and the beautiful conversations that you initiate that you know are here to serve other people. My heart is open, ready, and I love connecting with you. So may this be a connective, open-hearted moment for everyone who's with us for this conversation.
Mm, absolutely. I believe it will be. You put a post up a few, well, maybe only a week or so ago, wasn't it? I know I
Yeah.
jumped in pretty quickly because it was such a juicy topic, and you were so courageous in sharing. Which I feel, more of us coming into our authenticity, we're really becoming clear on who we are, and we're ready to share our truth, our story, maybe experiences from throughout lifetimes even, and what have backed up into this one. So this was a really juicy topic. So it's around having big breasts and living with, subjected body images that
Mm,
we're sort of projected onto us in many ways. And
yeah.
this is really about your story. So I would love you to start off. I know in your, the write-up in the reel that you did, you mentioned around 9 years old with a friend who said, your breasts were too big now to not wear a bra. And that
Hmm.
was really the beginning of it for you. So let's go there and you share your world with us, Leela. That would be
Oh, what an
beautiful.
honor. Yeah, what a privilege. Thank you so much, Mandy. And yeah, it was a little over a week ago. And yeah, that's like 3,200 views. Around 50 people have commented sharing their story. So while I feel really ready and really connected to sharing my story because I feel really safe with it now, there was a long time that I wasn't. And acknowledging that this is kind of our story, that not only have our breasts been a huge experience for us as women individually, but men have their own distorted, dysmorphic ideas of their body and they've been projected onto too. So this is really a human experience. And I think that moment I remember where I was walking at 9, I remember she was on my right. These are the moments that all slow down and we have them. And obviously, she was coming from the intention of helping me out, like someone who is like, just so you know, she was like, we've discussed it as a group of friends, and we've decided that you need to know this is not okay. And, as a 9-year-old girl, I wasn't even aware enough to understand how I look to other people, the judgments we have as a society on breasts, nipples, young girls going through puberty, the projections of being objectified and sexualized. And for me, that disallowance, that is not allowed, was just the beginning of decades of projection that we can all relate to. And I felt humiliated, I felt ashamed, and that deep, deep embarrassment stayed with me for such a long time, right?
Absolutely. And it really is, there's that the old ad that used to be around Colgate's toothpaste with the chalk and the ink and how it gets in, and this is it. This is that ink. It gets in. It really does. And and I know for myself being young and having things said to me as well, you sort of feel like you sort of feel like you're just moving through it. You don't realize that you've actually grabbed hold of it
Ah,
and you're
that's it.
holding on for dear life in respect to what does that mean for me? Who does that make me be?
It
You
throws
know,
up so many questions, hey.
such a
It's
lot.
it's so true. And there's shock that we go through, like, how is my body a current
Mm,
conversation? How is this conversation happening about me? And how have I not been considered while this is, really portrayed within the context of considering me?
yeah.
Right. And yeah, that was the beginning of these kind of rules that we have in society. And so coming out, that reel was really around unlocking a part of my story that I felt safe to share and ready to share, but that
Mm,
I hadn't felt safe for a really long time. And even naming, like, unlocking a story of having 14 double G breasts, like being able to clearly say my bra size, being able to say these words like shame, and
yeah.
not having a quiver in my lip, not having that oscillation internally, not being struck with fear and starting to pre-guard against projection, violation, condemnation. I'm like, oh yes, let's talk about breasts. Let's talk about how our bodies get to be a continual conversation from the time we're born right until the end, far more than men's bodies get commentary. Our bodies become, oh, you're looking like this, is wherever we go.
Absolutely. And it's such a, it's a big thing. It's taken me all
Mm.
my life. And I still
Mm.
feel today that there's still, you know, um, I don't know if it's but I think it's a boundary. Definitely boundaries. We learn to place boundaries and really
Yes.
strong ones too around it. But even now, I feel safer speaking to men because I
Mm.
never felt safe speaking to men. If
Gosh.
they sort of just like a conversation in the supermarket the other day with a man, and he clearly said he was married and his wife wouldn't agree if he took what we had on our thing. There was a bit of bacon, and he was saying, and he tapped his big puku, and he made a jest about his wife would just send him back to the supermarket to get rid of it again if it was coming home with him. And we
Wow.
laughed about that, but
Yeah.
I would have not got into a conversation. I would have really cut it short because
Okay.
I would have felt uncomfortable that he was actually hunting me, you know,
Yes.
like actually that playground. And I've just never felt comfortable with it. Never ever,
Mm.
because of where it's gone in the past.
That's
So
it. And this is where, we want to have that softness and grace in this conversation and really forewarn people that there may be words or phrases or
absolutely.
subjects that could be challenging for the mind, challenging for the heart, confronting for the spirit, and that,
Yeah.
we really trust people to hold themselves and to discern whether this is going to be nourishing or not. I just love, Mandy, that you reached out to me and you were so transparent and vulnerable around what surfaced for you in response to the reel. And you were like, oh my gosh, do we have a conversation about this? I'm like, hell yes, let's have a conversation about this. But so
Yeah.
many people sent me a private message. And so I understand that this is very private. And so as we communicate and express our hearts freely, we also do so very mindfully as
Mm,
women who know the deep cruelty and the restriction of that shame. And I feel like that is really important to acknowledge that I struggled with eating disorders for a couple of decades, that I had a deep self-loathing, that whenever I was out publicly, I would be so obsessed by how my breasts appeared from 360-degree angles, it would steal a large amount of my presence and my consciousness because I was
mm,
mitigating. How do I
totally.
protect others from the look of my body? Am I being illicit? And am I trying to garner attention? And am I making men look at my breasts? And there's been so much that I've had to go through. So the deep sense of shame and embarrassment and fear of ourselves, I just communed so deeply with so many decades. And for anyone listening to this conversation, I just want to go. I reached a point where I said enough is enough. I've
Mm,
suffered enough. I
yes.
know the shadow and the shame and the darkness and the fear. and I'm here to embrace the only body I'm ever going to have and learn how to belong in it and make peace so that I can actually give my love, attention, and care to what really matters, connection, nurturing
Exactly.
others,
Yeah.
co-creating what we want in the world. So
Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge, I might seem jovial or confident or like I'm being light-hearted about a very, very serious issue, but that's only because it's taken me decades to get here.
Yeah. Exactly. I so get that. And same back, same for me. I honestly, it's a big subject. It really is a big subject, and I really truly believe that there's not one person maybe on this planet that doesn't feel some sort of body shaming of some sort,
That's
no
it.
matter whether they're too thin, so many
Yes.
people I've known that have been really thin, and I go, oh my gosh, if I had that body, because I always carried a bit of extra weight. So for me, that didn't look too thin was like, no way, that's a beautiful body. But we
Yes.
all have these hang-ups, and it's
Yes.
it's it's come from, a lot of it's been through our history. If we look at the way women in particular have been treated throughout history, and there's still so much of that that goes on today still.
So
Um,
much.
it's,
Yeah.
it's really, what we're trying not to do with my granddaughter is say, oh
Mm.
gosh, you look pretty in that. Gosh, you're looking really pretty,
Yes.
because she is a pretty girl. And we're trying not to bring too much. It's a terrible thing. You've got to sort of regulate it in a way which shouldn't have been, it shouldn't have to be that way.
But that's what we're doing, right? We're learning how do we advance. And I commend my daughter on how generous she is, or what a great communicator she is,
Yes,
or
no,
or what a
that,
wonderful friend she is, and that she's got strong legs and that has a capable body and like really
yes,
diversifying instead of going, you're pretty and you're beautiful and you're cute.
yeah,
Some of us fell into that category. That was certainly not me as a child. No one called me cute, no one called me pretty.
nor
So
me.
I was on the other end of the scale and I was yearning for that, right? And so this is where we are advancing, and we want to advance the way that we hold respect and reverence for other people's body
Yeah.
temple and learn how to hold that respect and reverence for our own body temple, hey?
Absolutely. And I've been so guilty of looking at somebody and having a thought in my mind about that
Yeah,
and
we all
them.
have.
And I really, it's been something that over the last maybe 5 years in particular, I've been really conscious of not doing, because it's so
Mm,
easy for us just to put a comment to something we see,
yes.
and obvious, and a lot of the time it is about, putting someone down in our mind a lot of the time,
Yeah, regarding certain preferences, elevating other
Absolutely.
people above ourselves,
Yeah.
pushing other people below ourselves,
Yeah.
envying the appearance of something with having no recognition of what it's actually
Mm.
like to be in that body and to be with that body. And, that's why in the post I really acknowledged not just women who struggle with big breasts, which were the majority of the comments and the stories that I got to witness in response, but also smallness and uniqueness. We don't all have breasts that are the same size. One can be bigger than the other, inverted nipples. We can see our breasts change over our lifetimes, and some people have bigger breasts after breastfeeding, they're smaller, or the complete opposite. And some women get breasts after breastfeeding or after menopause. And there's all of this plus minusing, right? That we're being
Mm.
judged according to our
Mm.
physicality. We're being compartmentalized and rated based on this, one very narrow band of our body.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like I really want to name a couple of things in this interview. And if I can begin, Mandy, just
Yeah,
really naming the
absolutely.
things, the more we can give vocabulary to what we're actually experiencing, I think the more we can see it objectively and
Hmm.
really start to understand it's all of our experience. So the first thing is to really understand that as women with vulvas, we are highly receptive.
Yeah.
Our body has an internal passageway. So we're actually receiving a lot in the world, whereas men penetrate and project into the world. So
Hmm.
for them, they have this way of kind of really going up. This is what I see. This is who I am. This is what I want. It's very much inclined to that masculine energy. However, women are deeply receptive people. So when we hear comments, feel energy, sense the gaze of someone else, that becomes internalized.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I feel like we don't respect how much our bodies incline us towards receiving. And when you think about how much your body receives, Mandy, like how does that distinction reach your heart?
Absolutely. It's massive.
It's
It
massive.
really is. And
Imagine,
it's
being able to just go like, here's what I want and here's who I am and
yeah,
this is what I
yeah,
think. And then we're
yeah.
like, oh, what does she think? And I wonder how he feels and what will my children think of this? And then what will my and so there's this cacophony of perspectives, views, noise that is kind of
Mm,
ever present. And I want to
yeah,
name it because in sharing this reel, I've spoken to more people in my world who are like, oh my gosh, I think about it so much. It's a constant dialogue.
yeah.
Whereas on the outside, we just look like we're silent and quiet and content.
That's
We're
right.
not. I'm like, what do my back fat rolls look like in my bra
I
right now?
know,
How on earth
absolutely.
does that look? Oh my gosh, am I going to bend down and be around
Oh,
my children's friends and accidentally spot some massive cleavage? Like, sometimes I go out like, how high do I try to, and then
yes.
skivvies, and then you just like, there's all these attempts to wear cardigans, wear jackets. How do we conceal something
Completely.
that's literally emerging from our very chest? You can't.
Oh, it's pretty crazy. And how much of our, like you were saying in the beginning, how much of our mental energy goes into this? It's
Oh.
just constant. And I really got really tired of it. It was like, why do we have to continue doing this? So I'm saying to me, why do we have to continue saying this
That's
and
it.
doing this
And
forever?
doing this.
Because
So
it's
the
just
next
time
thing,
consuming.
it's
You know
so
what I mean?
time consuming that we can name here is internalized shame or
Yeah.
inherited shame. And what's happening is that no one has actually been shown how to actually hold reverence, respect, and regard for their own bodies. So
Yeah.
whatever they've inherited as shame around their own body being too big, too small, too this, too that, is that they will then project that onto everyone else, right?
Yeah.
So everyone has an internalized set of rules. Here is what is an acceptable body, here is an unacceptable body. And then that person, right, received that from hundreds of people, media,
Yeah.
movies, right, were absorbed in that. All the comment in particular is how women's bodies should look. Then we walk
Hmm.
around with a secret rule system and we either intellectually project that idea and go, oh, she should be smaller, she should do this, they should do that. And
Yeah.
then we're re-perpetuating it. So once I realized that we all have this inherited shame, some of your rules, Mandy, might be a little different from mine, but they're round about the same,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is liberating. If you can
Yeah.
understand that everyone has been given a secret rule book, well, what do we do with that information? So for
Yeah.
you, thinking about how many people gave you a set of rules, and you're thinking about how many people that was, like what stands out for you, Mandy, with the volume of people that gave you a rule around how to look?
Yeah, for sure. And you walk when you actually notice that when you look at people on the street, when you look at them on the beach, yesterday we were out at the beach and my swimwear isn't certainly not revealing. It's so not. But when I look down, I
That's it.
can see more than what others can see
That's it.
on my breasts. And
Yes.
so for me, I'm so conscious. Then you get into the water and they're like floaters.
Yeah.
And it's
And
like,
wanting to escape and perpetually wanting to escape from the swimmers.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh my gosh, I wish they wouldn't float right up there while I'm in the water.
Yeah.
It's just a constant thing and
It's a
so
constant
much
thing.
projection. And I tended to, like you're saying, project it onto others. We even walk into a room sometimes and we go, oh gosh, will I fit in that gap? If we're
Yeah.
if we're bigger women or bigger
Yeah.
people,
Yeah, will I fit in the
we can't.
chair? Will a seatbelt fit
Yeah,
me? Yeah,
absolutely.
I've been a size 8 and a size 20. I've
Yeah.
always had bigger breasts, but I really know that experience of really not knowing whether you're actually going to fit and then who's going to say what, right? Because then we
Mm.
start anticipating statements. So
Yeah,
we not only live with the
absolutely.
backlog of statements that we've been handed, that then live in our inner world, roaming freely, emerging at will, but
Yeah,
then we're waiting for someone to add to the pile.
we are. We do. We expect it all the time,
We
actually.
expect it all the time. And
Yeah.
so then we start guarding. And so I want to then name internalized misogyny.
Mm,
And for me, I love further defining misogyny as the devaluing of women, right? So compared to men, men are allowed to do this. They have innate value. They can ask for what they want. They're allowed to feel confident.
yeah.
Women, on the other hand, don't have quite as much freedom historically.
No.
Things are definitely changing, which is why this conversation can even take place now. The younger
Mm,
generation are absolutely going, I can do what I want. Do you know what I mean? This is my
yeah.
body, my choice. Consent is now a common conversation, but I feel like if we understand how much patriarchal conditioning we've had around being less than as women, well, then our body is either a plus minus moment, right? So if you have
That's right.
certain breasts, right, I'm one up. Oh, it makes me more valuable because I'm more attractive, therefore, right, more usable to somebody else.
Mm,
Whereas we don't have so much internal commentary towards men, and we feel less than perpetually, right? And so then we're struggling. How do I eat? How do I move? How do I dress? How do I act? How do I talk so that I can grovel my way back up into even close to minimal standing? And I
that's
just
right.
go, everyone has such profound, magnificent value. Our
Mm,
worth is innate.
mm,
And there's never anyone below me, and I will never allow anyone to be above me.
no.
And I love that you and I have always had that mutual regard and mutual respect.
Mm,
I was thinking, I think we've clocked up like 10, 11 years that we've known
yeah.
each other now.
Yeah.
And I wish that more people could really respect this internalized misogyny, is
Mm,
that we deeply feel ashamed to be women.
we do.
And breasts are the most visible expression of our femininity, and therefore they garner the most condemnation, judgment, or desperate desire.
They do. Absolutely. And look how many women today are getting shamed for even feeding babies. They really are. They're now having to really cover up and either go into other rooms, can't be in public, somewhere like a doctor's waiting room when the baby's needing to be fed. It's just unreal. And I think I definitely know that this is changing for sure.
Yeah.
We are making change, and I can
Yeah.
see how many men now are coming forward. When I speak to men about bodies,
Mm,
about woman's body,
mm,
and so many of them, because we have this idea, I did, of this idea that all men like women, just like the
particular
picture
way.
perfect,
Mm, yeah.
social. We see them in magazines, on TV screens, you know, the actresses, they're all on strict diet to keep their body in this shape, and then they started bringing in bigger women in respect to the acting and actresses, and that was beautiful to see, and they're still honoring that as a deep movement, which I love.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but
Body
in that,
positivity has changed,
yeah,
the
for sure.
visibility of women. I'm a size 14, and I just see so many size 14 women on social media and in movies and modeling now. And that was absolutely not the teenage hood that I
Not
had,
at
right?
all, not at all. But a lot of the men actually like curvy women. They really do. And that for me was like a blindfold being taken off. It was a big aha moment. But but in that too, of course, there's that, lusting after that that wanting, the desiring,
Yes.
which then turns it into something completely different, really
Yeah.
creepy. Can get
And,
really
our
creepy.
sensitivity to predatorial movement and
Mm,
predatorial behavior, and the,
absolutely.
the objectification of being sexualized from the time
Mm,
little girls, and openly being a 10-year-old and having grown men stare at my breasts. I was so deeply in shock. I was so confronted. I had no one that ever discussed that with me. I
mm,
didn't know it was happening to other people. It feels so isolated, right?
yeah.
Because I had the biggest breast in my friend group. And so I would garner that, obsession with my breasts again and again. And that whole, look at my eyes. It just,
Mm,
I became so overwhelmed that I would just wear as much as I could. And then I just started gaining weight because the bigger I was, the more padding I had around everything.
Yeah.
But there really is not only a shift in us understanding that men haven't been projecting this onto us, that there really is a system. And when I discuss this idea of inherited shame and internalized misogyny, well, my inner kingdom is my sovereign space.
Mm,
This is when I
absolutely.
really started dismantling and destroying. If I can understand that someone gave me that view of myself, I can give it back. And this is when we start kind of weeding
Absolutely.
that internal garden and going like, actually, that was about you. I'm going to let you deal with that. And actually, that perspective isn't valid here in my world. And so I
Yes.
couldn't believe how much I had to do that. So a long, long time
I know,
of
me too.
dismantling and doing the gardening. And then you see that you can just talk with a man face to face. And then you realize that the more we accept and inhabit the full expression of our own divine
Absolutely.
temple, then they will catch that, right? So if I have someone who is gazing at me, I'm also very sensitive energetically and I can feel, as I know you can, Mandy, that when my image is being utilized sexually in someone's mind, I always felt that.
Mm,
That
yeah.
was what made it even more horrific for me because men go, oh, that's private, it's in my mind. She can't hear it, feel it. I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you walk away like, you want to do what? Like, then I would feel the imagery, I would feel the positioning that I had been placed into and the
Yeah.
violation that that was, and then the privacy, right? The secrecy of these gifts not being acknowledged or embodied for me and me having no one to talk to about it. I
Mm,
feel like that is just exacerbates the damage so extremely. So all of us have been violated in some way, right?
yeah, definitely. For sure. And I just sort of, see the softening of the men now. And I get when we work on self and we bring ourselves through that shaming and like you say, give it back because man, there was so much. I hadn't been judging my body,
Yeah.
until things were said. We
Yeah.
just didn't do it. We were okay. We were
I was
quite
okay.
happy.
I
Yeah,
was running around having fun until I heard
so
it and
that.
felt it and sensed it.
Yeah. And then from there, it's always been men with derogatory words that have been spoken to me. But also, as Jan has made a comment here, thanks, Jan, and thanks everyone for watching. I'm watching all your comments here, and appreciate you all joining us. And as Jan says here, we can be other women's worst enemies
Yeah.
at times in regard to this. And I know for myself, when I came out of my marriage or at any point in time when I've been single, which I have been for a very long time now, um, other women around in couples with a confident woman, because the more confident I became of myself and
Mm,
in myself,
mm.
the more threatening I was to other women in relationships that were not in that space and
Yes.
weren't so confident in their relationship and themselves. And that was a really big thing. Like I became uncomfortable even going to barbecues because, oh my God, no, I'm going to be the only single person there. And okay, so I'm not going to go. And I stopped
Yes.
socializing a lot
Yes.
because of that reason.
Well, not only do we then cocoon ourselves and hibernate, right? Stay home to protect ourselves. We stop wearing the clothes that we like.
Yeah,
We stop looking at our body with love and
yeah.
tenderness. And then we actually get to the point where we can't see it anymore. And
Mm,
when a woman can no longer see her body, I can really recognize that in other women, and I hold it in so much grace.
mm.
But as it compounds, we become more and more still. And that stillness creates such deep stagnation in our body
So
because
hard.
we feel afraid to move. I stopped running at 11 because I felt it, or I felt the motion of my breasts, and then I had to deal with people looking. And
Mm.
in Australia, where I grew up, everyone's got sunglasses on. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I still know you're looking. Do you know? It's
Yeah.
still like I'm still aware. So then when we're trying to protect ourselves from men, right, and being objectified and ridiculed or lusted after, then we realize we also need to protect ourselves from women. And this is when everything can
Yeah.
really spiral because when we can't trust our sisters and jealousy and competitiveness and body comparing really
Yeah.
rages, it just makes nowhere safe. And
Yeah.
we've all lived through that. And that's important
Mm.
to acknowledge. We had years, decades, or maybe even still now, where we do not have any safety. So when
No.
we behave in particular ways, God, grace and compassion for that,
Yeah.
sanctuary. Creating sanctuary for myself has just been such huge medicine to be like, here in my circle, I'm sovereign and safe. And I
Mm.
uphold that and I keep that. And I command the view I hold on myself. So
Mm.
everyone else can have their perspective, but mine is more important than anyone else's, which no one told us we could
Yes.
do. How
I
we hold and
know.
view ourselves can
Yeah.
be the preeminent viewpoint that actually disqualifies all of the other views. No one told me that, right? This
Mm.
is that real inner sovereign sacredness that we're forced to create or stay small, stay still, stay stuck
Yes.
for our whole lives,
Yeah.
go to the grave. I don't want to look forward to the next life so I can finally move and feel comfortable being who I am.
Yeah, exactly. And what a freedom when you stop worrying about what other people think of you and you really, do sort out your own stuff because it takes a bit to do that before you get
Yes,
to that point where you can
yes.
be amongst whoever it is and you're feeling really okay with who you are and more than okay, in love with actually,
Mm,
to that point where you're absolutely loving yourself is such a
mm.
freedom. And it
Such a
doesn't matter what anyone else says, thinks, or does to you, actually. You
it
can,
doesn't
it
need
doesn't
to. And
wound like it used to.
no, we can become far more thick-skinned and
Mm,
very safe in protecting ourselves and becoming a guardian for ourselves.
yeah,
I mean, I returned to the gym this year and I was a personal trainer 16 years ago,
yeah,
and so many body hang-ups prevented me from returning to the gym. And I did used to manage a women's gym because there's so much ease in that and still dangers as well. And so I just really want to be transparent that I'm still mindful when I go out in the world. I'm still
mm,
I'm
me
still
too.
conscientious and considering and monitoring, and I don't know if I'll be able to get out of that. But being able to go to the gym and move and be in my body and perceive something, all right, someone's looking at me from behind, or someone's thinking this about me, and just push that out so that I can be in the environment, right, of honoring my body. And that's why this conversation came out, because I've shed a dress size this year, which makes my breasts even more prominent. And I'm like,
Mm,
okay, what are you going to be more committed to? Really revealing the truth of who you are and allowing your form to reflect that, or giving credence to the viewpoints and perspectives of others who inherited shame and internalized misogyny from everyone else around them? What am I more loyal to?
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Love, love, love it. And like I say, it is, and you've said too, it can be a long journey to get to that point. But once you do, you see the shift in yourself when like that being in the gym. Just even getting to the gym is a big thing now. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, you broke through that. Now you're at the gym and who cares who's staring? Who cares who's looking? Yeah, wiggle it.
Wiggle it, shake it,
Shimmy it there and shimmy it
and
here.
this is where we go, do I perform? Do I contract? And
Exactly.
there's this oscillation, and I go, What do I want to do?" And I have to be so slow to discern that. So
Mm,
every time I head to the gym, I slow right down because I
yeah.
have to be able to perceive and discern and hold myself. And because we don't talk about this, and we often see people who are more comfortable with their body going to the gym, right,
Yes.
or walking on the street or dancing, or I think it's just so essential that we have these self-holding skill sets, as I know
Mm,
you've cultivated and you teach through your healing work as well, of being able to self-witness, hold ourselves in compassion. And
mm,
I feel like I really want to speak into when we are being objectified and when we do feel a predatorial threat, because women, we will not place ourselves in certain circumstances anymore, but wherever we are, there can be a threat emerge. And,
absolutely. Yeah.
I made sure that I let my cleavage come out a little bit today. And I just, when I did that reel, I was like hugging my breasts and like holding them
Yes.
to kind of show people like, that is a physicalized way of mirroring an internal position that I'm deeply committed to. And
Mm,
when we are in that position of being objectified, when we spoke about how receptive we are as women, I don't think we respect, know, or honor. I have the power to call someone into my viewpoint.
mm.
I see where you're viewing me. Let me show you how I view me. And
Yes.
calling people energetically to hold our view. And this is the thing that when, as female-bodied women, we're actually trying to defend, deflect, protect, heal from, survive whatever has happened for all of us,
Mm,
we never get the time into the stage where we command the real feminine authority of welcome to my view. And that's why
yeah.
I loved at the start of today's Shoot the Breeze was, I want to come into your world. Well, in my world, everyone is sacred and
Mm,
holy, and they are viewed with respect and honor.
yes.
And my trick and the trap for all of us as women is that when we have been judged, well, boom, I'll judge you back. Well, you're this and this and this. And some women are very good at that. And I get it. I've done it. I played that game. I played it with other women till it made me feel sick. And I
Yeah.
realized I was re-perpetuating the same trauma that had held me back and held down. And
Mm-hmm.
so through prayer, as all truth comes to us, inspiration that lands, because I don't know. And then they go, what if you held them in respect and regard before they held you in respect and regard?
Yes. Yes.
Right? What if I pre-forgive what I know they're tracking down in their minds? What if I
Mm,
go, I get that. I get you want to go there, but let me show you another way. And I
yeah.
get present and I engage. And I've done this with hundreds of men now. And I made it a 5-year devotion to actually get so slow and present that when I catch the young man, the old man, the married man, the teenager staring at my breasts and starting to go into that fantasy place, and I'll watch and I will just smile with such gentleness,
Mm,
and I have freaked people out. I've scared people. Men have run from me because they're like, what's she doing there? And I'm like, I'm
yeah.
welcoming you into my world, right? I've lived in your world.
Ah, yeah.
Come
It's
on over to
great,
my
isn't it?
world.
Yeah.
Because when we really allow our presence and our consciousness to expand in our body and we see them, and then I hold that in grace and compassion and love,
Mm,
well, that's very protective. That's a
yeah.
whole new level of self-guardian.
Oh, totally, totally, Leela. And I've played that game as well, as if we want to call it a game.
Yes.
It
Let
was
me
like
play
when
that
I
game.
realized, yeah, when I realized I was being hunted, which felt like I was from the time I was born. I felt like I was being hunted through spirit as well, and hunted from men and the masculine all my life. And it wasn't a story for me. It was truth and
Yes.
experiences that validated it because that's what I felt.
Yes.
And as we know, what you focus on grows, and we attract it in and all the things.
Mhm.
So it was definitely something I needed to play out to learn how to um, come into the space of really respecting myself, my body particularly, because I never liked my body, and it was
Mm,
only because of what was said to me. It
that's
was never
it.
because I just thought I hated it. It
Yes.
was just that it wasn't showing up to be what everyone wanted it to be. So therefore, it wasn't a good thing. And in that space, now it's like I can hold space with men now that
Mm,
they know. It's like you with what you've just said there. They know
yeah.
and there's this sort of
Yeah.
she's
She's like, oh,
she's
she's not going to play victim. She's not going to get
yes,
scared. She's not going to be
exactly.
embarrassed. I'm like, I know
Yeah,
my breasts are big. I'm well informed and I
yeah,
love them. They
yeah.
are a part of me and I'm at home here and
Hmm.
this is my space.
Yeah,
You take up your space. I'm taking up my space.
that's right. And it's a beautiful thing. And oftentimes what I find is they shift themselves to come into that
Damn
respect.
straight. Well, this is
Mhm.
actually the patterning that I believe we're moving into as more women occupy that sovereign self-respect, right?
Mm,
And we're calling people into the inner world that we were forced to forge and cultivate for our own
yes.
survival.
Yeah.
Well, then we can draw other people into that viewpoint and we can transmit it. And
Yeah.
so, this idea of emanating our medicine or transmitting it via osmosis, that I hold such consolidated, concentrated, dense medicine
Mm.
around body acceptance, self-acceptance, embracing my feminine, owning my sexuality, embracing my
Yeah.
sensuality. Well, then anyone who is yearning for that or has never seen it before can receive a portion of that without having to do as much work as I have to
That's
cultivate
right.
that.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
anyone who doesn't want that, well, they are repelled magnetically. It's like,
Yeah.
like, wonderful. So not only do we then begin to transmit the medicine, but we
Mm.
create a force field of protection where other people that hold different intentions to me can't abide the same space as me.
Mm.
And this is what has been hidden from us. And this, I believe, is the whole agenda as to why we have been shamed, blamed, condemned, victimized, pulled down by women and men, making
Yeah.
us less than, because I don't know a man who has been able to refuse the magnetism of my receptivity. And I'm
Yes.
open to meeting someone who can.
Yeah.
But it's the intention that I'm holding. I'm not trying to call someone into my viewpoint. I'm
Mm.
just so deeply committed to it that they will shift their view to hold mine, just as I once shifted my view to hold theirs. Whoever
Yes.
can hold it more strong will call the other end. Wow, let's play that game. Come
Yeah.
into my world. Welcome, welcome. What do you see? What do you know now?
Roll up, roll up.
Roll up, roll up. I won't even charge you. I won't even invoice you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I came to the realization not too far back where I'd had many lifetimes as masculine,
Hmm.
and that this time I was definitely had to come in as a female to really understand the plight and to work through a lot of the stuff that had been created through my feminine in other lifetime experiences. Um, and so in this one, what I've really come to notice is the difficulty of being feminine.
Hmm.
Men really living from the memory I have and memories and experiencing going back into those memories of being masculine has been one where you just, it's almost like bulldozer. You're just plowing through life. There's no, it's
Plowing is a
like
good phrase.
totally that. Everything is just there. You do
What
what you
I
do.
want, what I will force
Absolutely.
into reality.
And if you want to annihilate, you go through annihilating. It's like
Yes.
that. That was, and there were many places and situations created where men could do that, like wars and battles, and it's continued today of all
Yeah,
the
totally.
worrying that goes on and the
Mm.
harshness and all of that, and the disrespect of life in respect to how easy it is for a lot of men. I know women do too, but a lot of men who take lives. So
Yes.
in that, I came to this place now where, in this feminine form, oh my goodness me, there was so many times I just had to step back into the masculine within myself to
Mm.
protect myself. But a lot of when I look through that, a lot of that programming, if we want to call it that, the experiencing, the memory retrieval, and here that the triggers were all around men
Mm.
battling, whether it's
Mm.
whoever it was with. So therefore, that program was still within me, even
Okay.
as a female. So therefore,
Mm.
what did I have? I had a lot of men that were in battle with me.
Wow.
For me to, I suppose, find my strength as a female as well, but also come out of the masculine and the battling up, which I feel we all have this. We've all been through it, whether we're female or not,
Yeah.
because of even the female, she's been through so many war times in her own experiencing. If we again look at history and where the feminines come through from,
Yeah.
we've been in some very, very hard and dark time.
Mm.
And we're coming into lighter time, lighter being, lighter existence and evolution. And with that, we're dropping these old states of being that we've been in. And a lot of this now we're resolving within self, which is creating more of that resolving and resolution on the planet and with
Yes.
humanity.
Yeah.
But man, it's been a mission. And I
Oh,
still have only just got to the point where I feel safe to be feminine in this body, and know that if any man comes forward, any man comes forward anymore with anything that's derogatory or,
yeah.
wants to battle up, I can still go there. Don't worry about that. I can still go there.
We retain the capacity. I can battle. I
Absolutely.
have a sword too.
Yeah, but I don't choose to. I just don't choose to. I choose, now
Mm.
to respond differently and create a different outcome in it all.
It's
Um,
beautiful.
and it's a strength within us. It's definitely courageous for us to do all this. I get it. So it
Well,
takes
and
us
it's,
a big
if you
mission.
clocked how many hours, right, and days and years that we've dedicated to transmuting this,
Yes.
there's
God.
not a sum vast enough to actually acknowledge the labor that that was. And so I want to
Mm,
speak into how unseen that labor is, that
mm,
any woman who's feeling confident, calm, and connected to her body has endured so much to arrive there. And may we encourage one another and share that freely, which is why I was so keen for this interview, because hearing your story around finally feeling safe to be a woman,
mm.
at this beautiful age that you are, just honoring the decades of devastation. And this is why it's so sacred and it's so important. And now, right, your granddaughter, your view, right, is creating a new atmosphere around her life as
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
just honoring you, Mandy, for what you've given here and your beauty
Oh,
and your sacred form and the radiance of your
thank
spirit.
you, darling. Yeah.
Mm,
Thank you. Yes, I see so many more men softening now and
mm.
standing with their woman
Yes.
and not, in front or, over top.
Yeah, there's an
You know?
equalizing happening. We're meant to be co-creators. We are meant
Yeah.
to hold each other and the differences between us in respect and regard. And when we spoke before about that, penetrative influence of men,
Mm,
when that comes from divine inspiration or connection or being informed by his love, then he can do good in the world. Then he's
yeah.
actually, putting something out that's actually in alignment and resonance. And I really feel like our breasts, someone in the beautiful comments from that reel said, the antlers of your heart. And this is where I really started to
True.
realize, right, that the phallus really is the projecting how important it is for us as women to be awake and alive to our sensuality and our sexuality. That's what men really service with. That's why they're like, I see you as a sexual creature. I'd like to do this to you right now. Oh, this
Yeah.
would be good with you. What they're really doing is activating our comfort and connection with our sexuality. Whereas what we're here to do is be like, yes, but what about love? What about
Absolutely.
mutual regard? And this is where really understanding that women penetrate from the heart chakra, that when I
Yeah.
spoke about really having the receptivity to call people into our energetic field and the resonance that we've cultivated and the viewpoint that we can hold is that we can then penetrate out into the world with this incredible love and grace and compassion that we've forged, right? We become the substance of the absence that we were forced to endure, that when we're bringing
Yeah.
that, well, that gets to be an equalizing balance. And I really feel like I want to encourage myself and anyone who resonates with this to bring more of who you are to the moment, right? Because I've been obviously condemned for being too much, too confident, outly. You think so much of yourself. And I'm like, well, I literally have raised myself. I've literally removed myself from two abusive family environments. I've extracted myself from an organization, right, that I was told was a church and a religion
Mm,
that stifled me and shamed me and repressed me endlessly. So I go, no, I've actually battled for over 40 years to feel safe. You can
yes.
deal with that however you want. If you think that's cockiness, no, you're entitled to that. Right?
Absolutely.
Go
Mm,
there, because I can hold that in grace, but you cannot project that onto me.
yeah.
Right. So as we really allow ourselves to really deeply understand how much this has battled out through both of the sexes, our bodies get to be like the sacred space where we transmute it. We acquire the medicine because no one gave it to us, right?
No.
Each of us needs to become the medicine that was absent. And then we get to bring that in the world. And you are bringing that, Mandy, like
Mm,
everything you've given yourself, this radiance and divinity, this sublime connection that you sit in of knowing divine love through personal experience.
mm.
You're now transmitting that. And I go, ah, it's worth it. No, equalizing. Like
Yeah.
that's calibrating for me of, no, worth it. Worth it.
Yeah.
I love being here. Gosh, I wish I had
It's
seen another woman here. Oh, what I would have given. The tears, like I can just feel how much I would have cried to meet a woman who could fully occupy her stature.
yeah, beautiful way. Yeah, for sure. I saw glimpses of that in the feminine lines of I had two very strong feminine lines in both sides of my family. And I saw the pioneer woman, the woman who stood in their pain and just kept the family together, kept life functioning, and that always stood out to me. But there was always this beautiful love for the family, for the connectivity of life itself, and to actually um, hold space. They were holding space for us all as well. And the men just seemed to be just getting on with them and doing their thing, but the women in both these lines were very strong and very,
Mm,
very grounded, and yeah, it was a beautiful thing. But there, in all of it, it is that love that they have for their family that stood out all the way through.
mm.
And no
Such
matter
unseen
what,
labor, right? Such
yeah,
enchanting devotion that actually made all the difference. Men are
yeah,
like, we're
for
doing the
sure.
real work. And it's just like if these,
Yeah.
humans coming into the world are not seen, loved, and cared for, there's no
Mm,
world for them to, there's no point, right? There's no point
no,
to any of it. All the buildings and the roads and the commerce and the trading.
none at all.
It's none of it is
Yeah.
important if these humans aren't coming into the world and knowing that they are worthy, loved, and treasured.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm
For
so
sure.
glad you had
No,
that,
it's
you've seen that, Mandy. It's so beautiful.
mm. Yeah, well, it was beautiful. When I look back now, my mum was a very strong woman, but also very sensitive, emotional. Um, and just so impressed in the sense, I know this is going to sound weird, but so impressed in the way that she dealt with moving out of this realm and
Mm,
how the body shut down, what the body was doing, and how that was her creative way of getting out of this place, really. That's how I
mm,
saw her. It was a decision around herself. But how she still just loved the people that were caring for her. She was in so
mm,
much pain,
mm,
but never ever did she complain. And I,
mm,
a lot of people would say, "Oh gosh, well that's just suffering." Yes, it is, and yes, maybe she needed to speak up a bit, but no, she didn't. She
mm,
really did it in a dignified way that was just so
mm,
beautiful, and I've never
mm,
forgotten that. That was something that really stood out
mm,
to all of us as a family, and how dignified she was right to the last minute.
mm,
And that for me was a woman. That's a real
mm,
beautiful hearted woman who
Well,
who
that
does it
was
in that way.
self-given dignity, hey? That was
Absolutely, for sure.
self-appointed dignity. And so you can feel that's medicine, right?
Yeah,
That
definitely
still
that.
lives. That
Yeah.
still is alive and moving in the world and still
Mhm.
transmitting through
Yeah,
you and other family members.
yeah, for sure. So we all have these beautiful women in our lives, definitely all of
Well,
us.
I didn't. So it's lovely for me to hear that because I think that's why I've been so committed to becoming it because I didn't see it. And
Right.
it wasn't
Yeah.
apparent around me, and I didn't see anyone who was comfortable in their body, and I didn't see anyone comfortable in their sexuality. I didn't see anyone who was mitigating how men or women responded to their bodies in any way that I felt I could replicate. And so
Yeah.
that has really been my motivator. And I know it's part of my life purpose. I'm Taurus, and I really understand that embodying femininity so much, having full cheeks, full breasts, a curvy figure. I represent fecundity. I represent that
Mm,
embodiment of abundance. And when something is prolific and abundant, well, then someone wants to take from it. I had
absolutely.
a
Yeah.
beautiful, wise girlfriend this year, and she said, all of your abundance is for you.
It is.
Everything that is fecund and ripe and rich about who you are was always first and foremost intended for you. And
Mm,
this beautiful story of your mother's, journey through and her self-appointed dignity, it really takes me to what I believe is the core underutilized superpower of every woman, which
yeah.
is our ability to bring death.
Yes. Yeah,
We've been
yeah.
conditioned to be the ever-loving, compassionate mother, wife, devoted to the community. Like, if we're loving and kind and generous and nice, well, we're loved and accepted and paid for, right? We're giving housing and
Yeah.
food and right inclusion in the community.
A good
And,
girl.
the good girl
Oh.
got fed,
Mm-hmm.
and I've really realized that we have a composite superpower that I can cease nourishing something. I can deny something of nurture, sunlight, food, or fuel, and I can starve it out. And
Mm,
until we learn our power as women to bring end to cease something and stop something, we won't be able to clear everything we've inherited in our internal world. We won't be able
that's
to even taste the truth of our true essence. We will be
right.
inundated with an ever ongoing onslaught of more projection and judgment and shaming and blaming. No matter what country you live in, I've worked with women all
Yeah.
over the world. No one's immune, no one's safe. There's no way to kind of
No,
skip out of it, right? And
no.
the queer LGBTQAI, they receive even more condemnation, right? Because
Mm,
they're even more refuting the rules of the system and the structure. And so I want to just acknowledge how much my willingness to learn the art of bringing death to something has actually given me life. That there's no way I would be living today if I didn't learn how to truly kill something and deny
yeah.
it life and nourishment.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm,
Agree there. Yeah, definitely. And you know, part of, when I look at my name was Mandy, of course, but it broke up for me one day and it was Mandai. And I thought, oh my gosh,
mm,
this is what we're in this lifetime. It's
mm.
about allowing that old masculine to really finish up and complete itself because it's been running riot throughout. And
Yeah, dominating.
oh my gosh, yes, taken
Yes.
over our world, our everything. So we, the woman, I see this, so much now in how we're rising, we're coming up out of that muck, and we're now really rising up and we're taking our place
Mm.
again. Because it
Mm.
was originally, I believe, we were
Same.
original. It was then, here's my two boys starting a battle
Mm.
on the bed there, two cats. And then, now it's this beautiful rising of this gorgeous divine feminine, this beautiful
Mm.
feminine that's coming through. And
Mm.
I see how much that is shifting this planet, shifting
Yeah.
humanity, and I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful and grateful to all the women
Mm.
who have stepped out of their conditioning and their wounding and all this program that men and in particular have placed on us and
Mm.
have just risen out of that and now
Mm.
creating this beautiful realm of, I don't know, I just love, like, I was talking with a whole lot of young people the other week, and they, they're seeing things differently to how we came in. They're really different in respect to, right? A lot of them aren't in relationship, don't want any relationship until they find somebody who doesn't have any of the old program, old wounding, anything
Yeah.
that needs any help from them, they don't want to do it. They're not
Mm.
into it. They want
Mm.
somebody who's cleaned up,
Yeah.
ready to be in a relationship. These
Yeah.
are young teenagers. And
It's
I'm like, oh my
beautiful.
goodness me.
Yeah, it's so
They're
moving,
really, oh, it
so
is.
inspiring. And they've had
Absolutely.
to suffer a lot to see what their parents have endured and what their grandparents have endured, right? As such young beings, seeing the
Yeah.
carnage that this has really created. And I love that. And I love the vision that you're holding for unity and harmony and
Mm,
mutual respect. And, I feel like I would love to kind of encourage myself and anyone listening with a few points for how we can kind of embody that more fully, because I feel like,
Oh,
someone might be going, well,
absolutely.
what do I do first? Do I go to the gym, or do I start
Yeah.
loving my body, or, do I eat
Yeah.
better, or do I just eat whatever I want, and I
Yeah.
feel like, this is where this idea of feminine authority is, that we actually always know. And we've lived in a world that has told us how to be, how to look, how to behave, what to think, what to do next, what's important and what's not. But the
Mm,
more we can create that stillness and that sanctuary and sacred space, we can always hear that voice is always speaking to us. And it's confronting
mm.
because we're going to need to do something different, which is the scary part. But I
Yeah.
go, hey, when you've endured all of this pain and suffering, I was like, I'm listening. What is it? I'll do it. I was like,
Yeah.
would
Me
act on
too.
it swiftly.
Bring
I,
it
I
on.
didn't care because I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And for me, some of the key steps and stages was really bringing grace and forgiveness to those who hurt me.
Mm,
And, I talked in that reel about how I found some people with their vicious words and condemning projections so hard to forgive, because it felt so personal, that I really started forgiving the abuser of my abusers. Who
mm.
gave that shame to that person? I'll forgive that person. Sometimes I knew who that was, sometimes I didn't. But
Yeah.
that once removedness, I'm like, just created more space within me, that the more I forgave, the more I could forgive. And so
Yeah.
I really want to encourage us that we need to dismantle the judgment that we have against those who hurt us. That
Definitely.
until we're willing to do that work, which I know you have just done so beautifully, Mandy, with such heinous, vicious, atrocious acts to need to forgive.
Mm,
It's the most brave, courageous thing we can do. And the more we do that, we then can forgive ourselves for how we re-perpetuated it.
hmm.
How did we condemn others, either in word, in action? Who did we shame? Who did we exile? Who did we put on the outside?
Mm,
What sister did we push out because we couldn't accept her light, her body, her truth? And so
yeah.
the more we forgive others, I think it really does cultivate this power to be like, and you too, that
Mm,
willingness to hold ourselves in grace, and then really forge an alliance with our sisters, that the
mm.
more women can hold guardianship and protection, the amount of women I've advocated for, the amount of women I've stood up. And I've been walking, my daughter and I finished watching ballet in Wellington, and there was this couple arguing, and I'm like, well, my rule is 1 meter, 2 meter periphery, you're on
Yeah.
my turf now. So I
Yes.
stopped. I looked at the woman, and the man's arguing with her. I said, are you all right? I just stayed there. And she looked at him, and he looked at me, and he looked at her, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here. This is not okay.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
said, thank you. She said, we are okay. And I just looked at him, and I'm like, are you okay? Because I'm not going to make out that she's the victim and he's the perpetrator. I'm like, are you
No.
okay? I don't know what's
Mm,
gone down. And he was
yeah.
just like, yeah, thank you. And
Mm,
I've got my daughter who's 8 beside me. I'm in the dark at night on holiday in Wellington. You go, should I be doing this right now? And I'm like, are you, I see what's going on here. So as we speak up and advocate and stand up for our
yeah.
sisters, that the medicine's transferring. She knows I'm watching. I'm here being present to
Yeah.
what's happening. This has happened to me. It's happened to many of us. But we need to be allies. And if sisters can be allies, and look, I know I don't talk to my mother. I do not have a relationship with my two sisters. I no longer have a relationship with my father. I've needed to do that to find safety in this world. So I don't advocate that. I don't want
Mm,
anyone to break contact with a family member or anyone. But sometimes for our safety, if the projection is so violent, so harmful, we actually need to. But I will be an ally to every woman. And then once we can do that, we can start becoming allies for men. And I speak
yeah.
up, I hear a woman complaining about a man and I advocate for the man. Have you considered this could be happening? What about that? And I will speak highly of the men that I know these women are like, and I'm like, I get it, but what about this side? Right? And I
Yes.
feel like we can't
Yes.
be allies for men until we're allies for our sisters and women. And
Yeah.
that's a jump. But for me, that's a very important jump, because if we make it a me and them, well, re-perpetuating the same old shame. Let's condemn and judge and blame men and
Absolutely.
make them bad
Yeah.
and make them the victims now. Give them a taste of their own. And I go, I don't want to
Yeah.
play that game. I'm not here for that. I'm sick of it. I have lived,
No.
endured that, mourned and cried, screamed and howled. No more.
Yeah.
So I hope that anyone listening can be like, what stage am I ready for to forgive the person who hurt me or the person who hurt them, forgive myself, forgive another woman, be her ally or be the ally of a man and start forgiving the men who have hurt us. And I go, wow, what could we do if we start playing these games? Hey, Mandy.
Yeah, for sure. I remember reading a book. In fact, I've kept the book because it's just an absolute treasure. It's from Susan Jeffers, and she writes about opening your heart to men, and it's a absolute beautiful book around how men, objectify us and all the thing, how we've learned to be good girls, don't dress, dress the way that you're asked to dress, basically, and covering up, and no short skirts and cleavage and all the things. That's not a good girl. you know
Mhm.
we've been all the story. And then what she says in here is also about um how she gives you the idea of the love that we've been brought into in respect that is wounded. So the wounded love, and how that plays out between men and women. And
Mhm.
then she has a whole back end to it, which is all on the high love state. And oh my goodness me, when you look at the two and you start seeing, well, actually, that's not playing out in my, when you're reading into the higher love state, and there's just this elevation.
Mhm.
And what she suggests now is that, and this is written years ago, like I read this years and years ago, but it's still very valid today. It's really valid today. It hasn't aged at all. But
Mhm.
what she suggests in here is that it's now time for us to open our hearts to men again,
Mhm.
because they also have been, we had to separate ourselves up from them, obviously, to find out who we were, to
Mhm.
get ourselves sorted out,
Yes.
and bring ourselves into that beautiful, loving state that we know we can be,
Mhm.
and are some of us, I suppose. But what we need to do now is open our hearts to men, because when we moved away from men and
Mhm.
we were finding ourselves, they got really lost. They
Yeah.
really lost their position in life as to where they belong.
Yeah.
And their position was always about protecting land, women, and children originally. More to it than that, but basically.
Yeah.
And they lost their place, because women were then standing in as the masculine within relationship, or with their children anyway.
Mhm.
A lot of women, having their children and growing them up on their own. And so there was this big, massive movement in regard to all of that. Now couples are coming together again,
Mhm.
and it's in a different space, definitely different space, because we've grown, we've worked through a lot of our traumas and wounding and all that old program.
Mhm.
And what they're starting to do now, these men, and this is what I'm loving, is that they're standing now as a solid pillar beside this solid pillar of a
Mhm.
woman.
Mhm.
And they have this wind that blows between, but
Yeah.
they're solid, and they're not standing entwined in all this old energetic wounding. They're absolutely in the space of powerful growth, really. It's a
Mhm.
powerful pillars, powerful
Mhm.
pillars.
Mhm.
And I'm really seeing the men soften, as I said before, and standing beside these women now, instead of,
Mhm.
being the bloke that's always at the bar, or, in the shed or whatever, but actually now
Disconnected, right? Dissociated, divorced
yes,
from his own heart,
so
incapable of
that,
feeling his own feelings, incapable of
absolutely.
receiving divine guidance, healing, and just kind of falling into
Yeah,
these habitual ways of doing things that they think are valuable that honestly take them nowhere. You can accumulate
yeah,
all sorts of things, and your
yeah,
soul is still starving for what you want, which is the deep recognition of who you are and your worthiness
yes,
and deservingness of love.
yeah.
Mm.
And in this, she was saying too about the men, boys need longer with their mums than young girls do. And often the boys were sent off early because there was either, they had to do the chores around the farm or whatever it might have been in the earlier years, but also there was just that they were off to kindergarten or play school because mum's got to work. So they
Mm.
weren't able to spend time with mum. Girls were different. They'd be waving mum off, but young men needed more time with mum. And so there was a lot of young men wounded from that time that
Yeah,
grew into wounded men, obviously, that
yeah.
needed mum. And they
Yeah.
were looking to us as being mum more than they were a loving partner.
Partner. Yeah, that's it.
Mm.
And then we were like, sure,
Yeah.
suckle from my breast. May I
Yeah,
nurture you and I will love you as a mother would a
absolutely.
child. And we fell into that role. And
We
I'm
did.
18 years into being married to my husband. We don't even wear wedding rings anymore. We have rebirthed, renewed, destroyed
Mm,
who we once were so many times now, but really allowing my heart to be present to the shame and trauma of being a man and some of the violent and horrific things that happened for him as it was projected onto him what he could or would do to a
yes.
woman. And his capacity to violate was like, you will violate. And really allowing myself to sit in deep grief and mourn
Mm,
those projections of how his body, like if he's not built and tall and muscular and have a certain physique, then he's
yes.
not worthy of a woman's
Exactly.
attention, affection, attraction as well. And so it's really allowing us to start to understand that men have been victims of the patriarchy and internalized
Mm,
misogyny as much as we have. It's
yeah,
just a
for
more
sure.
prolific story because we have the ability now to speak about it, right? Our
Mm,
mothers didn't speak about it. My grandmother never spoke about it. But this is a time when we can vocalize it and we talk to our girlfriends and we talk to and we're talking. The men aren't talking so much. And
no.
this is why having those allies and that sisterhood that's robust and we can start forming that community again, but then really turning to these men and really bringing them the grace and the love so that they can unravel the damage and the
Mm,
trauma. Because,
mm,
right, hurt people. And I love responding to that, that free people. And I have freed myself and it has taken my whole life. And now that I'm here, this time in particular, being able to release that reel and be like, so here's my experience of having really big breasts. And I was just like, listing off all the things, feeling no pain, no shame, no fear of projection. I was still guarding. I still needed to block one man who wasn't able to respect my boundaries with that interaction. And I
yeah.
can do that. That's no problem at all. So I really feel excited that this isn't a wonderful time. And I feel so fortunate that my soft, sweet husband really did let me into those very dark places within himself. And it was harrowing.
Mm,
I really felt, years of, I'm 17 years in the business now, and I've witnessed so many people witnessing the horrors of what men have actually had done to them.
yeah.
It fractured my soul. It's taken me 2 years to recover. That when I really got present and stayed with him in the darkest of dark, it just broke me to really
Yeah.
realize the secrecy and the depth of shame that men have been mistreated and violated so deeply, and that then
Yeah.
they don't know an
Yeah.
alternative when they haven't been
Mm,
respected, honored, heard, loved, embraced. Well, how do they offer that? So this
yeah.
is where it's really important to, feminism's always been sensitive for me because I'm not a down with men woman. I'm always, I've walked up to men and I'm like, oh my goodness. What I saw this young man with long black straight hair and he swished it one day when I was shopping in this mall in Auckland, and I was just like, my knees quivered, and I was like, what is this? And I said to my husband, oh my God, I saw the most beautiful man. Oh my God. And he did this. And I said, if I see him again, I'm going to tell him.
Yeah.
And then we were just on our way up. My husband's like, I want to get a smoothie before we leave. I'm like, okay. So I lined up to get his smoothie. I look over. Yes, there he is sitting with his friends. And I'm like, well, a promise is a promise. So he's this married woman, walks over, bends down. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you are such a magnificent, attractive, handsome man. And I just really want to show you so much respect. And I said, I apologize that this is weird. I am a married woman, but I just need to say it. And he was like beamed and he had this and he put his back, and I just delivered the message and walked away as we know how to do when we're intuitive and
Yes.
trust and do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And then he sat there with his arm and he's laughing with this big loud laugh. And I was just like, oh, he'll be running on that for days. there's weeks in that compliment. And
He
we
will
don't have a
be.
culture
Absolutely.
of acknowledging men, of celebrating men, of thanking men. We're like, oh,
Yeah,
you can do more than that. Oh, but yeah, this needs to be done as well. And I'm like, no,
I
no, no.
know.
I will
Yes.
not re-perpetuate what I have freed myself from. And that means no shaming children.
Yeah,
There's so many minorities
yeah.
of ablement and people who are not as able as some and people who come from different backgrounds. And it's so important that we start opening our hearts to realize we've all suffered. And how do we
Mm,
cultivate the heart space to actually be able to be present to all of that?
yeah, yeah. Oh, aren't we so I just feel so blessed to be here, and
Hmm.
even though, yes, we've all had these hard times and we've, oh God, crawled our way through
Oh
some of it.
man. Yeah,
Like
dirt up our
actually,
nails,
oh my
soot
God.
covered. Yes.
Yeah, but oh my goodness me, what an absolute honor it is to be in these bodies and to be here witnessing with all of you other beautiful beings. Like actually, it's just such a privilege and such an honor. And I just love it. I love it. And I love that we actually have got it this time. That we really get
Mm.
what's going on. We're still
Yeah.
finding things out. Of course we're going to, but
Yeah.
we've got the basics of it and we can actually shift ourselves into a life that is phenomenal because we are
Yes.
phenomenal, magnificent beings. And
Mm.
we're sick and tired of being stuck in that in the
Yeah,
little.
the smallness.
And
Yeah.
man, there's some amazing women rising up around me everywhere, and I'm just
Mm.
so thankful to see that
Oh.
happening. It's such a
Oh.
beautiful thing. I love our sisters.
No,
Like I
yeah,
really do.
same.
And our
I've
men, our
been
brothers.
saved by my sisters. I agree. And thank you so much for, initiating this conversation and your
Mm,
bravery to reach out and share your story with me and for you to bravely confide everything that you have today as well with some of the pieces that you've endured and what you've experienced. It's so tender, but
mm,
being able to transmit this conversation, I feel like it will reach the people that need those loving reminders that other people are doing this work alongside them and that
yes,
we're all in it together, right?
absolutely.
It's a beautiful time. I feel so excited and I feel this utter rebellion bubbling within me where I'm like, you can't shame me anymore.
No,
So I am a dangerous woman in this world. I am a threat to so many things, and I
yeah.
have been exiled. I've been put on the outside. I've been condemned and been told to leave, go away, and had the circle close, and I'm on the
Mm,
outside. But no one told me how much peace or freedom was here, Mandy.
yes,
I'm
that's the
like,
thing,
oh,
isn't it?
exile me again and again. I'll just
Yeah.
revel right in the peace, in the sanctity. Is that when we really stand with ourselves, I don't need anyone to stand with me.
No,
I will stand with myself, but as we stand with ourselves, right, you are standing with yourself. So you're like right beside me.
yes.
Anyone else who's truly standing in feminine authority and really standing in their sovereignty, we
Mm,
forge a more powerful community. And so may more women be prepared to be a threat, to be a dangerous woman, so that we can lead something beyond
yeah.
what we've known.
For sure. Absolutely. Love it. Thank you so, so much for coming in. And this has been just a wonderful conversation. And it definitely will. There'll be so many people that it'll reach that will just absolutely feel it, know it, go, yes, oh my gosh, yes, high five, girls. So we'll be seen, I'm sure, in respect to how it is. And I just thank you for all you do, Leela. Honestly, you are such a sweetheart, and I mean that. I mean it. You're just such a sweet, sweet woman that is just so full of generosity and, yes, abundance and beauty and all sorts. But I just love you to bits, and I so thank you for everything you do and for being in my life, standing with me, alongside of me, seeing me, loving me, all the
Mm.
things. Just love
Oh,
you to bits. And
oh,
on everything that you're doing. So thank you so
mm.
much.
Breathing
Mm,
that in and reflecting the same, your courage and the dignity that you stand in, and this huge reclamation of the safety to be in this beautiful feminine body after
mm,
so many other lifetimes of having a different experience and setting up a whole new relationship with yourself and the men around you. It strengthens me. And thank you for calling me a sweetheart. I feel like it has required so much death and ferocity and fierceness. Like I feel like the wild animal in me is so close to the surface because she's allowed me to retain my softness and my sweetness. So I've been a ferocious wild beast to get here. So thank you for seeing the sweetness that has
mm.
been begotten of that.
Definitely shines through. So thank you so much to everyone who's joined us, honestly. And thank you for all your comments. And we'll go back over those and get back into them when we get off here. But thank you so, so much. And much, much love to you all. Take good care and shine bright.